And just when I complained yesterday that not really complained, but there wasn't much NBA news going on. I said the content was going to be kept to a minimum until the NBA news came back 2 days later or so. Another breaking story. Pretty much Kevin Durant met with Joe Tsai and said, trade me or get rid of Sean Marks and Steve Nash. And I said it from the start. Kevin Durant's not getting traded. He's too good. He's under contract for 4 years. He's not getting traded. But I do say the Nets should have fired Steve Nash a while ago. And the Sean Marks thing is interesting because Sean Marks has really done everything Kevin Durant wanted. He got James Harden in here, signed Kyrie. They got Steve Nash. That's the coach they wanted. They done really everything. I mean, they've been on the buyout market, getting guys like Aldridge and Blake Griffin. Got Patty Mills. I mean, Sean Marks hasn't put a bad team around. Traded James Harden when Kevin Durant said James Harden should be gone because he doesn't want to be here. So I don't know about the Sean Marks thing. The only interesting timing with the Steve Nash thing is, training camp, I believe, has started. We're getting pretty close to the season. Summer league's concluded. They're kind of installating the scheme, if you will, or lack thereof for Steve Nash. But if Kevin Durant was gonna go on this whole tirade of just fire the general manager, basically clean house, he should have done this when his season ended, not when this coming season's about to start. But with that said, there are still candidates on the market that I like. The one I'm really like is D'Antoni. I think Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, and Ben Simmons with D'Antoni would be so exciting. Just the fast-paced offense. D'Antoni has handled superstars before, James Harden, Steve Nash, Stoudemire. I don't know if that's Kevin Durant's system per se, the 7 seconds or less. I think he wants a little more ball movement, maybe not as up and down as he's getting older in age and getting a little more injury prone. But I think D'Antoni with Kyrie running up the floor, Ben Simmons and transition. The only thing I have, speaking of Ben Simmons, would be there's a lot of standing that happens in D'Antoni's offense. And the biggest problem with Ben Simmons on the Sixers is that when he didn't have the ball, Ben Simmons was just standing, and that made him really a non-factor on offense. So I just don't know. There will be a lot of standing. If they can fix that, they can have Ben Simmons do some off-ball screens, make him set off-ball screens, and get him more involved in the pick and roll and that kind of pick and pop with Kevin Durant. That would be hard to guard. A lot of size, a lot of potential there, and a lot of the fast break potential. It'll be exciting basketball to watch with D'Antoni. The other ones, like, you're not going to get Nick Nurse to leave. I think Quinn Snyder is going to be the next Spurs head coach. I think that's just only right. And like, I don't know the rest of these guys. I'm not a huge assistant coach guy, so like maybe there's some deep cut assistant coach available that could be nice. But out of the guys that I see available, D'Antoni's the only one I would go for, and I'm going on the assumption that Joe Tsai does take Kevin Durant's request seriously, and because why would you keep Steve Nash and Sean Marks over Kevin Durant? I know it's been a little wacky with Kyrie and Kevin Durant and all the animosity in there, but you choose Kevin Durant over Steve Nash. Pretty much what it comes down to. So one thing also really interested that I was in my heart of hearts, I was thinking about that Kevin Durant might want Kyrie Irving out of here just because of the distraction he is, and Kevin Durant's not much of a distraction guy. But in the reports by Shams, it does not seem like he said anything about Kyrie Irving, which makes you think they're going to be together this year, which will be interesting. And they're Kyrie's going to be able to play all the games. I think there's still going to be a little bit of a headache, as Kyrie always is. Something will come up, but on paper, you have the potential with Kyrie, Kevin Durant, and Ben Simmons. You got guys like they got some wings in TJ Warren and Royce O'Neal, who I like, just bodies I can throw out there. Cam Thomas should be a little better than he was last year. Still got Patty Mills. Could they use another big man? Maybe another playmaker? Sure, yes. But you probably don't need a playmaker at all times when you have Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant one of those two are going to be on the floor at all times, pretty much. So you probably don't necessarily are dying for a better playmaker, but could use one maybe. The big man, it is what it is. They can go. They'll probably just be going small for a lot of the season. Play some Ben Simmons at center. That'll be really interesting as well if they get Ben Simmons playing the five. Just it'll be hard to guard. I mean, what are you going to do with Ben Simmons is dribbling the ball in transition, or even not pick and roll with Kevin Durant. I mean, you're gonna have a five on Ben Simmons guarding the on ball pick and roll. That's gonna be tough. But the roster is not bad. Do I think it's a championship roster? No. I probably still like the Celtics, the Heat, the Sixers. I'm iffy about, very iffy. And then we get into teams like the Raptors, the Nets, and oh, I forgot about the Bucks too. The Bucks are definitely better than the Nets as well. I cannot believe I forgot about the Bucks. But overall, pretty shocking news. And like I said, I don't think the Nets would trade Kevin Durant regardless, but I think it's time for Steve Nash and Sean Marks to get their Indeed resumes full, and you might be working at the factory next weekend.